No, it's not an identification parade at New Scotland Yard. It's the Rotary Club at Corby New Town in Northamptonshire. Formed in 1957, the club now has 30 members. 23 of them are English, 6 are Scots, and 1 is a Welshman who emigrated to Canada and has now settled in Little Scotland in the heart of England. Little Scotland because 3 out of every 5 of the 42,000 population are Scots. But until 1932, Corby was very much an English village, dominated by the 700-year-old parish church of St. John the Baptist and consisting of a few dozen typically English cottages in stout Northamptonshire stone clustered around the church. From this ivy-covered rectory, successive rectors of Corby have given a spiritual lead to Corby's Anglican community. Picturesque country walks like this, only yards from the busy village high street, have remained almost unchanged through 7 centuries. But this old inn is one landmark which has now disappeared as bulldozers change the face of Corby. Once this old village high street was the main shopping centre of Corby, a sleepy village which, until only a century ago, had fewer than 900 inhabitants. Today the old village is dying. Buildings are decaying, stonework is crumbling, premises are becoming empty and being pulled down. Heavy lorries roar through on roads that once echoed to the gentle clip-clop of ponies and traps. Workers in brash new cars and bicycles ride through from the new town of Corby to factories on a light industrial estate and to the giant Stewarts Lloyds Steel Works. Shopkeepers complain that trade isn't what it used to be. Soon a new £100,000 bypass will make their struggle to earn a living even harder and the old village even deader. But 30 years ago, even the most far-sighted villager never imagined for a moment the fantastic revolution he was to see in his lifetime. A revolution that came with steel. This is Stewarts Lloyds Steel Works today, built right on top of the rich Northamptonshire iron ore bed. Huge mechanical excavators bite away the topsoil and rock to uncover the rich seam below. Like a science fiction monster on the scarred surface of some distant planet, the world's biggest walking dragline, a fantastic near-human machine which literally gets up on its hind legs and walks, digs up 75,000 tons a week, nearly as much as the weight of the ocean-going liner Queen Elizabeth. 130 miles of railway lines carry the raw iron ore from the quarries into the works to feed the furnaces, and then carry the finished products out again on their way to destinations all over the world. In the beginning, God created the earth, but Stewarts Lloyds created Corby. Today, Stewarts Lloyds employ 13,000 people, nearly 3 in every 5 of the working population. The weekly payroll is more than £120,000. Every year, the works produces 1 million tons of steel. Invested in the Corby works are more than £40 million in buildings, plant and equipment. And now the company has launched a vast expansion scheme costing £35 million. In the blast furnace plant, the iron ore from the quarries is melted down at temperatures of 1400 degrees centigrade. The rock and soil and other impurities skimmed from the surface, and the remaining pure molten iron, blinding and white hot, is channeled from the furnaces into huge clay vats. The blast furnace men turn out 900,000 tons of iron a year in a stifling, burning atmosphere heavy with choking fumes, an atmosphere in which every movement is an effort, every breath a wheeze. Iron to iron ore to iron to steel, and much of the steel is turned into steel tubes. Stewarts Lloyds are one of the world's biggest manufacturers of steel tubes, and the three distinct plants which make up their tube works, producing steel tubes by three completely different processes, can turn out up to 665,000 tons a year, or enough to stretch 4.5 times round the world. But in 1933, when the Scottish invasion began, accommodation in the old village was hopelessly inadequate. Hundreds of workers slept in fields and under hedges, while the steel firm was hurriedly building, in the shadow of the steelworks, the first of 2,200 houses for the immigrants. Entertainment had to be provided. This real brick-built cinema quickly followed a makeshift cinema in an old wooden hut where there were long intervals while reels were changed on the only projector. Shops too sprang up in the shadow of the works. Only 10 years ago, this block of shops was the main shopping centre of Corby. But if Corby had already seen one revolution, an even bigger one was to come. In 1950, the government announced that Corby was scheduled to become a new town. Almost immediately, the government announced appointments to the board of Corby Development Corporation, responsible to nobody except the Minister of Housing and Local Government. A new town sprang up almost overnight. The town centre, with its tall blocks of flats, its revolving clock, its balcony shops and its rooftop car park, is seen by some to present a unique example of modern concepts in planning and building. Others see it as already hopelessly out of date, and the national publication, The Economist, called Corby a new town failure. Though architectural fashions may change, the traditional market never changes. In the market square is Corby's controversial abstract mural, designed during the building of the new town by famous London artist Keith Vaughan, a work of art to which the Development Corporation took an instant dislike, buried beneath a thick layer of concrete and wire netting, and finally uncovered again in 1962, 8 years later, after continual pressure from the townspeople. Today, busy housewives flitting among the coloured canopied stalls hardly notice it. They're more interested in a pair of new shoes. fleet of taxis take home newly rich housewives who, with bulging shopping baskets and money to spare from the housekeeping purse, scorn public transport. Other homeward-bound shoppers with cars of their own collect their vehicles from the modern rooftop car park built on top of the shops in the main shopping centre and drive to ground level down a concrete ramp. The architecturally exciting exterior and roof of shining sheet aluminium, surmounted by an aluminium steel-framed spire like a heavenly pointing finger, make the new town centre Church of the Epiphany perhaps the most impressive and unconventional of all Corby's new buildings. Inside, housewives busy with the morning shopping, office workers during their lunch hour, children on their way home from school, pause for a few moments' silent prayer. As a departure from tradition, the font is placed in a prominent position near the central altar, visually emphasizing the importance of baptism and Holy Communion to the Christian Church. The impressive free-hanging cross and the centrally placed altar echo the modern simplicity of the whole building, a remarkable tribute to the faith of a handful of people who for 4 years were a church without a church, holding services first in a territorial army drill hall and then in the hall of a Lutheran church. The County Library issues 213,000 books a year. New light industrial estates like this one have been planned well away from the residential areas. National firms whose names are household words have built factories, and more are confidently expected by the planners whose job it is to attract a proper balance of trade and industry. By contrast, across the road are the trees, playing fields and swimming pool of the 900-pupil co-educational grammar school. 200 acres of unspoilt woodland, part of the remains of the once vast Rockingham Forest, bring a breath of country air into the very heart of the town. On the fringe of scented pine woods, a £35,000 diagnostic centre was opened in 1954. 7 years later, a £90,000 maternity unit was opened alongside, where future citizens of Corby are born in conditions of fitted carpet luxury more like those of a 5-star hotel. This old farmhouse only a few years ago stood in splendid isolation. Today, bordering the main entrance road to yet another modern housing estate, it seems an architectural oddity in a sea of modernity. Now the nearest thing to a Shire horse the old farm sees is the name of this public house further up the road. But this Shire horse pulls not ploughshares, but pints. This attractive corner, only 1 minute's walk from the main shopping centre, is one of several groups of private housing development spaced discreetly about the town. Everywhere there are prams, and the town's already high birth rate is certain to continue to outstrip the average for the rest of the country. With so many children, facilities like parks and playing fields had to be provided. The Urban Council built adventure playgrounds aimed to provide scope for the imagination. Walter Mitty would have revelled in it. For the adults, this park provides a peaceful haven only a minute's walk from the busy main shopping centre. Office and shop workers eat their lunch sandwiches in the open air, old folk while away their retirement watching the world go by, and housewives put their feet up after a tiring tour of the shops. The aim of Corby's planners has been to build the town in self-contained estates, each with its own public house, its own wide variety of shops, and its own schools. This infant school is one of 17 local education authority schools in the town. Trying to estimate the probable number of annual school leavers years in the future has been a mathematical problem. But a new school has been built every year, and now Corby has become established as an education centre for miles around. On the biggest housing estate, where 9,000 people have their homes, there are 3 county and 2 Roman Catholic schools. The Roman Catholic Church of St. Brendan's, and the Anglican Church of St. Peter and St. Andrew. And this original shopping centre has now been followed by a second one. St. Patrick's Church on another estate is one of the 3 Roman Catholic churches in the town. The estate has playgrounds for the children and a local for Dad. The public house, the Pluto, was named after the famous pipeline under the ocean, the steel pipe which carried vital fuel across the English Channel to the Allied forces after D-Day, a lifeline which was made in Corby. But how do the workers spend their leisure time? We'll show you how in our second film, part 2 of Corby 1963.